You know, everyone talks about Napoleon Hill's classic Think and Grow Rich and its famous steps to success. But today, we're going to dive into the other side of his philosophy, the part that's just as crucial but way less discussed, his deep, deep analysis of failure. So let's explore what he actually found.
I mean, for decades, this book has been an absolute legend. Its core principles, having a burning desire, unshakable faith, and just raw persistence, have totally changed countless lives. The formula seems so clear, so powerful, which kind of begs the question, right?
If the roadmap to riches is laid out right there in the book, why isn't everybody successful? Hill was obsessed with this exact question. He spent 25 years studying thousands and thousands of people to get to the bottom of it, and what he uncovered was honestly staggering.
Yeah, you heard that right. In his analysis of over 25,000 people, Napoleon Hill classified a jaw-dropping 98% of them as failures. Now, these were people who were trying, but something was constantly holding them back. And he realized that knowing what not to do is every bit as important as knowing what you should do.
So, what did Hill do? He created this incredibly detailed breakdown of the most common reasons people fail. He wanted to give us a checklist, a way to diagnose our own weaknesses. He wanted to prove that failure isn't about some external force, it's about internal habits that we can actually control.
What really jumps out when you look at Hill's findings is just how fundamental these roadblocks are. No clear goal, giving up way too soon, always putting things off, not being able to make a decision, and of course, not playing well with others. Hill found these were the absolute biggest obstacles, and they all come from our own behaviors. Two of them in particular he saw as a really toxic pair.
I just love this quote. He paints such a vivid picture, doesn't he? Being hogtied to a treadmill of failure. It's so true. Indecision and procrastination, they just feed each other. But here's the thing. Hill discovered that these habits don't just exist in a vacuum. They're actually symptoms of a much, much deeper problem.
See, he argued that before you can even begin to apply the principles of success, you have to clear your mind of three very closely related enemies. He called them the unholy trio, and they work together in this subtle, really dangerous way. So this is how it works. It starts with indecision. That's like the little seedling of fear. You just fail to make a firm choice. Then, that indecision, it hardens. It crystallizes into doubt. And once doubt takes hold, it mixes with that indecision and becomes full-blown fear. It's a slow burn, which is exactly why most people don't even realize it's happening to them. And that whole process gives birth to what Hill famously called the 6 ghosts of fear. He believed these were the fundamental anxieties that haunt pretty much all of us. They paralyze our ability to think, they destroy our imagination, and they kill our ambition before it ever gets off the ground. Just look at this list. The fear of being poor, the fear of what other people will think, of getting sick, losing love, getting old, and dying. Hill's point was that some combination of these 6 fears is constantly working away in our subconscious, holding us back from taking the very actions we need to succeed. And this brings us to his most crucial insight about all this. Okay, so here's the absolute key takeaway. These fears, as real and powerful as they feel, they aren't external realities. They're just internal states of mind. And because they're thoughts, they can be controlled. You actually have power over them. But mastering these fears, that's only the beginning. Hill identified 2 more habits that he thought were even more deadly to success. Right. So beyond those 6 basic fears, Hill pointed out 2 final behaviors that act as the ultimate success killers. These are the things that trip people up even when they're actively trying to improve.
Hill called this the 7th basic evil. It's our tendency to just leave our minds wide open to all the negativity from other people. Friends, family, the news. We just absorb their discouragement, their doubts, and their limitations until they become our own. Protecting your mind from this isn't passive. It's a critical, active defense.
And then there's this, the final telltale sign of a person who's headed for failure, the habit of making excuses. Hill called them alibis. Instead of looking at their own weaknesses, unsuccessful people build these elaborate, airtight reasons for why they haven't achieved their goals.
Sound familiar? Hill actually lists 57 of these common alibis, and pretty much all of them start with if. If only I had this, if only that hadn't happened. Look, we all do it from time to time, but for the 98%, it becomes a chronic habit that just justifies inaction and guarantees they'll fail.
He doesn't mince words, does he? He says building alibis is a deeply rooted human habit, but it's one that actively prevents you from ever taking responsibility and actually growing. Think about it. Every minute you spend crafting an excuse is a minute you could have spent creating a plan.
And this really brings us back to the core message of Hill's entire philosophy, whether you're talking about success or failure. You have absolute control over one thing, and only one thing, in the entire universe: your own thoughts. Indecision, fear, negative influences, alibis, all of it is internal. They are choices, and that means the power to defeat them is, and always will be, entirely within you.
Hill ends his whole section on alibis with this incredibly powerful statement. It's really a call for radical self-honesty. The moment you stop building excuses and you start analyzing yourself with courage is the moment you reclaim your power and actually get on the path to success.
So, the question I want to leave you with is this. Of all the ghosts that Hill identified, indecision, doubt, the 6 fears, negative influences, alibis, which is the one that's holding you back the most? Because just identifying it, that's the very first step to outwitting it.